Hello. So I got to say, it's been really cool seeing the presentations so far today, how they're combining Blender and all kinds of other different technologies. I'm fortunate enough I get to do some of that in my work as well. So today I'll be talking about creative uses of visual media from maps and graphics for the purposes of storytelling. And that's kind of the other theme I've seen today is like taking those maps and graphics and how to use them in a narrative arc and actually kind of create engaging experiences for readers. So the things I do, as mentioned, I create maps and graphics for stories, the ArcGIS StoryMaps team, and I work inside the box of that software and come up with creative and neat ways of using that software for storytelling. And one of those resources is often videos where there's a whole folder of outtake screenshots like this. So basically, this is all kind of enabled. My latest foray or experimentation into this kind of working within the box is media layers in Map Viewer. So it's the concept of just putting images on a map. It's obviously possible in other different software, but this is the box I'm working in. And it's convenient for quickly georeferencing things, but I've been kind of finding ways to use and abuse that for my own purposes and create lots of other kind of fun stuff. So there's some samples here, but basically I've kind of lumped them into map examples. So these are examples where it's still map-based. So for instance, this endemic species story, if you're familiar with like kind of the map tour, what I did was basically put some of John's paper texture over the base map. I'm fighting bandwidth here, so we'll see if this works. That crinkled paper texture over top of the base map, and then I used kind of visual flourishes of collages of the animals and various other assets. Cool, good. Here it comes. To sit atop, and it's kind of just a visual flourish. It has that kind of delight for audiences as opposed to just giving them the map. Each of those sections will have kind of the collage on the narrative panel, and then we'll also have something in the map. So there's what it would look like. Other examples, not gonna, inspired by last year's, or was it last year's? Yeah, the one in Pittsburgh. Took a bunch of reference photos of a lanternfly and animated that to crawl across our story, bit of a delight piece. But the actual focus of this is creating, cool. I'm on the Wi-Fi. It's subtle, but these bespoke kind of call-outs, annotations, line work, you can go do that in a graphic software, quickly export that as a PNG, and then stick it atop your map and kind of georeference it in place. You could do this in other ways, but it's probably going to be more tedious, creating like a geometry feature for that, doing the styling inside. And if you're fluent in maps and graphics, then this might be a quick little way to create a bespoke call-out without all the tedious work. I think it's here. Another kind of thing I've been using this for is in I use it as a locator because in StoryMaps there'll be the default globe locator in the bottom right, but it's a whole globe. If I want something more detailed, if it comes up, okay, we're gonna go back to this. I actually just put a little locator image in the map. So it's, hold the fish close, larger scale, for a user to actually know where that beach that we're looking at in the ship breaking actually was. And this last example here is from a summer project last year. I went out and recorded where I swung my golf club and where I hit the ball to. I did that over several rounds of golf. And I wanted to look at the data. So all those golf balls are basically kind of like pseudo-geography. I took the relative distance and direction or deviation from where I intended to hit the ball and kind of mapped all those golf ball trajectories around one point. So I needed a pseudo-geography to sit underneath to give it context. So that's just a make-believe golf hole fairway. that I use as a media layer underneath. And then there's absurd examples that I don't know if they'll show up, but I too have been blendering, except my renders still kind of look like my nephew did it. But there's been fun things I've been doing where this is all still in the map viewer, but I've hidden the base map, hidden the map layers, and instead I've just choreographed different Blender renders or any other kind of imagery that you want, so that as that kind of story scrolls, we reveal different things. Where's my beaver? There we go. It's just pulling one layer away that was sitting on top of another, but it's an image in the map. And again, I'm working in that box. There's all kinds of really cool things, the georeferenced drone photo, but I don't have access to do that. I'm creating assets for users that are in that same box as me. So finding fun ways and novel ways to kind of use that for storytelling. So this one, we actually zoom right into the beaver skull. But again, it looks like a nephew did it. So, so we're gonna do a little demo. I'm gonna tempt fate and try and do this live. We'll see how it goes. If not, I have a version I've baked earlier. So this is all kind of choreographed in one map. I'm gonna close that one, open this one. So it's about the Apollo 11 moon landings, and kind of, your first point of what this kind of created for was adding a media layer and georeferencing a map. So it's as easy as going to add a media layer, browsing your device. I have a USGS map here of Florida. It will bring that in, and then it's just a matter of, again, this isn't like full-on rubber sheeting that you'll have in ArcGIS Pro, but you'll be able to either just do something like this, and move it, scale it, rotate it, etc. Again, holding Shift kind of locks that aspect ratio. Or if you have more detailed transformations you want to do, you can actually pick your reference point here. Video cutout, cool. Let's try this again. Are we back? Cool, all right. So you'll actually get the kind of coordinate points that you can move around, put them exactly where you want. I'm not gonna try and do this live, but you also have the latitude and longitude. So you can pick these locations and set coordinates for each one separately. And then it'll just be a matter of updating and closing. I was way off of where I wanted it to be, but I've got that here. And we'll turn, that's on, that's on. It is there, right? Okay, believe me, it's there. But there's other ways to do this. So this is probably what it was imagined for, but then there's fun, silly things you can do as well. So because of talking about this Apollo 11 launch, the rockets launching from Launch Pad 39A, and I thought, it would be cool if I had a rocket flying up towards what I think of as the camera. Like, cinematically, where is the camera for the audience? So I've got this Saturn V rocket that I've rendered in Blender with a cool smoke cloud, kind of like Wile E. Coyote style. And I'm gonna loosely just stick the smoke cloud over that launch pad. Actually, it's that one. And that is kind of cool. It's again that visual flourish kind of delight thing. You weren't expecting to see that. And then there's other uses. So for the purposes of telling a story that's not necessarily geographic, you could also go and georeference. Did I lose? Okay, I need to be very careful and not move. I've got the flight path here, so I'm going to open my other one. Okay, so I've got the flight path, loosely georeferenced, and flight path. Bear with me. Okay. I got the flight path georeferenced somewhere. Okay, I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to show you the final result. Okay, so there's our georeference map taking off from launch pad 39A. It scrolls into our Saturn V rocket. Bit of a delight there, weren't expecting to see that. And then here's that flight path. So I've cleverly, give myself a little credit, put the origin of that launch roughly over Florida, and then I'm going to use this graphics layer as like a bait and switch to distract you, while underneath I've swapped in a lunar base map. So I'll scroll along here talking about the various steps, how the command and service module split from the main rocket, did a 180, put you over the moon finally, and then we'll scroll in, and there's the lunar base map talking about the extravehicular walk. And then similar to that kind of beaver example is I have, shout out to the Smithsonian Institute for giving 3D models of these things, saves me trying to build it. You can then kind of use that in an image choreography role where you can iteratively take off layers, or if you do like a Boolean in Blender, you can actually cut something into your models, and that will let you see inside. And then you can actually use that with some like vignettes and sketch layers in Map Viewer to call out certain things. So that's kind of a way of just blending the maps and graphics to create delightful visual experiences for audiences. So that's my demo. There's some resources there, and I don't know if I have any time, but if there is, I'll happily entertain you with answers to questions.